Through our exhaustive navigation of the 80s, we've learned a great many things. At the box office, gore typically equals green. Jamie Lee Curtis is a goddess that demands worship. And if you tack the word massacre onto a film, it's going to draw some curiosity and probably open a few wallets. Especially if you set it at a sorority house with promiscuous college girls, forget about it. So was born 1986's Sorority House Massacre. God help us all. The way we start this one off is we've got our victim and we're working backwards. She's in a hospital telling someone the story of what happened to her, and I can respect that. It's something that we don't see every day, but it leads us to a psych ward. Another psych ward. I mean, Jesus, guys. Way to stretch those creative legs. And on top of that, we start seeing a lot of these weird dream sequences throughout, almost like we're right back on Elm Street. As we jog back on memory lane, we learn that the main girl's name is Beth, and she's taking us back through where she's trying to settle into her lives with her friends at the sorority house. Now, she keeps seeing things. She keeps seeing flashbacks to things, and she doesn't know if it's past life. She doesn't know if it's just a bad dream. But there's a scene here where she's in a room, and she looks through the mirror and sees the doofiest looking killer you've ever seen looking back at her before he stabs his knife into the mirror, and the f***ing mirror bleeds. The mirror bleeds. Then we get to the psych ward where the guy haunting Beth presumably lays his head, and this guy breaks out of some pretty weak restraints, but way to sell the power of your killer, your antagonist. Because two doctors, one guy and one girl, come into his room after he's broken free from the restraints. The killer charges him, and he gets subdued by the one guy, the one doctor guy with the glasses, and looks like maybe he plays tennis to stay in shape. He subdues our killer in about 15 seconds or so. I mean, do you think that's something that would happen to Victor Crowley? I don't see it happening that way. Most of the sorority has cleared out for the weekend, and we get Beth hanging back with some of her friends, and I kind of pick up on what they're doing with the one girl studies brainwaves. So when Beth has this sort of link or this recurring vision of this guy that she doesn't know, but he's the aggressor that she typically sees in these visions, her friend is trying to piece together what it could mean. Now, the killer in one of these visions or dreams or hallucinations calls her Laura at one point. And it's at this spot in the movie where I'm thinking to myself, how much do you want to bet that this guy is this girl's big brother? I can almost guarantee it at this point, but let's go ahead and move on and see where we wind up. We move on to a fun, bouncy 80s dress-up scene that all movies should probably have written in their contract if they were produced in the 80s, and it's just an excuse for boobs. But it's a horror movie, and that's what you need in horror movies. And all these girls are doing their very best to try to perk Beth up while they're trying on all these clothes of this rich girl that vacated for the weekend. Then we wind up with the killer busting out of the psych ward. That's stunning, right? He steals a hunting knife, kills the clerk, and then he steals the clerk's car. He's not a nice dude. We find out that his name is Robert Hinkle after a news bulletin goes wide. And I know that last name Hinkle from somewhere. Maybe I'm thinking of Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Either way, not intimidating. With the girls having all their guys there, all they talk about is the supposed murders of the family that took place apparently in that very sorority house. And all I could focus on was how awful these kids truly were at partying. I mean, they're telling spooky stories and they're watching television. Come on, y'all. I get the feeling they won't be around for very long, though. And of course, Beth is the killer's sister. Why not add a doctor? We'll call him Dr. Bloomis. And we'll have him show up at the sorority house in the nick of time. But the rest of the movie is actually the killer showing up and killing dumb people. That's the extent of the rest of the film. There's actually a scene, and I kid you not when I tell you this, where the killer is hanging from a second floor window trying to get in to get these girls. And one of the girls sprays the killer's knuckles with mace. Now, if he had open wounds on his knuckles, I could see how that would be irritating. But how are you going to demobilize the killer by doing that? How are you going to stop him? She does it anyways. And then he winds up diving after he gets back to the floor, right? The ground level. He winds up somehow diving through that second story window. I hope they had a fun time making this movie. That's all I can say. But the rub here is that the killer is reliving his killing spree from 12 years back. Same house, and the only one that got free from that bloodbath back then was Beth or Laura or whatever the hell we're supposed to call her. Might as well just call her Laurie Strode at this point. And John Carpenter, in my opinion, with this movie, has a slam dunk lawsuit that this movie is a 3 out of 10, and those 3 points are awfully generous. But I'm a slasher guy. I like slasher movies, and I can appreciate an attempt to make something work. This is the perfect example, though, of how big a difference actors and roles make in a movie. The House on Sorority Row's story isn't that far off from the story we get here, but The House on Sorority Row is a much more entertaining film by leaps and bounds because the actors seem to care. They give their roles pop. And they made you want to watch them. And here you just can't wait for these guys to be off your screen. And I realize that they can't all be first round draft picks. That's just the way life works. But the killer sucks. There are pieces of cardboard floating around out on the interstate right now that have more charisma than the victims have. This did not age well the day after it was released. It doesn't age well now. We're going to move on from this one and pretend it didn't happen. But if you like listening to me rant about movies such as this, or praising movies that deserve it, think about subscribing, think about liking this video, hit the notification bell that will let you know whenever I upload something. We try to do it 2 or 3 times a week. And with that being said, I appreciate everybody that's here. I appreciate everybody that's already subscribed. I appreciate those of you who are going to subscribe based on my pleas and my begging. This is Aging Gracefully. I'm Matthew Essex. I'll see you guys on the other side. Bam!